Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do a little bit of a walk around and review on the Lapa Miskruier. We've had this baby for about a year and a half now, and we've done two really big trips with it. Actually three really big trips with it. So we've put it through its paces, we've used it properly, and a lot of people have been asking for this, so I'm happy to say we're going to get to it and show you a great review. Now I'm going to crack open a beer. It's a beautiful day in Africa, and we're here at Bonamanzi doing it, so I couldn't think of a better place. Absolutely amazing. And then just a little bit about the Lapa and towing. I previously had a Ranger 3.2 which towed it absolutely beautifully. It sits behind the vehicle really nicely. It doesn't sway from side to side. It's really stable on the road, so it's actually a dream to pull. I've moved to a Ranger Raptor, and even better with that gearbox, combination with the motor and the trailer, everything just works so well. So I'm really happy, and I think that you'll probably find that this is probably one of the lightest trailers in its range, and really good. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so we pulled up to the campsite now, and we're going to just uncouple here, so I thought I'd just run through the front end of the trailer quickly. I've gone with a double jockey wheel. It just makes it a lot easier for moving the van around. It's not very heavy, but obviously the double jockey wheel just makes it a bit easier on uneven surfaces. The coupler you'll notice I've got in here is a 360-degree coupler. It is 3.5 ton rating. Just helps with that articulation. You know, when you off-road, it'll allow the van to articulate left and right and up and down. So if you're going through a big ditch, it's not locking on the ball, potential to possibly break the ball or the actual hitch itself. So it'll just let it move around a whole lot, which is obviously a lot better. Got the normal light hookup. And then we've got our Anderson here with our cables that run right through to the back. This is one change that I did from the factory. It only comes with 8mm cabling. I've upgraded that to 16, you'll see, so a lot thicker. The reason for that is just the higher amperage that needs to flow through here and into my electric system, which we'll obviously go through a little bit later, but I'll explain that in a little bit more detail then. So when you're taking it off, handbrake up, drop the jockey. Sometimes the jockey I put up here onto this holder, and that's just useful if we're going through some rough terrain where there's possibly going to catch the jockey and bend it or do some damage. So it just takes it completely away and out and leaves you as much clearance at the bottom as possible. So with the handbrake up, now raise it. This pulls up like that. That's how the release is on this particular type of hitch, and depending on the angle you have, there we go, it's popped off quite easily. I've also added a level at the front, which helps quite a lot, and that just does my level this way and that way, just so I can see and try to get the trailer as level as possible for sleeping. Okay, so also at the front, I'd like to just chat about the nose cone that I went for. This particular one has a compartment either side, and in the center we've got space for 2 jerry cans. That's the normal sort of 20-litre diesel or petrol containers that drop into here. They've got a great little catch that just holds it all into place. On this trip, obviously we're not going too far, we're just at Bonamanzi, which isn't too far from where I live, so I don't need to take too much diesel or anything like that, but I do have one diesel tank in here as well as one water tank. So you'll see the 20-litre front runner tanks fit in there perfectly, and if you wanted to take extra water and didn't need to take the diesel, you could obviously put 2. So we always take extra drinking water, so on shorter trips I use that, which is really handy. You just need to remember to take it out before you start opening up the bush Lapa, because once this bed falls down, as you can understand, this isn't going to go up and we're not going to be able to pull the tanks out. This stone chip protector came standard from the factory, although I did get a bit of a modification done because you used to have to undo the whole thing to get to the doors here, so I had some zips put on it. So now we can just zip straight down either side without having to undo the whole thing. It drops down and we can get to our doors. So they're not huge inside here, but more than enough to carry your odds and ends. I generally try and just put all our wet things in here, like hose pipes, the dishes, the bin for the dishes, as well as dry up racks, hose pipes, that sort of thing. Sure fits in here quite nicely. And then over the other side, we'll have a look now. We've got the gas canisters in there. And this is not 100% dust proof. It works pretty well, but at the end of the day, you're putting dirty stuff in here, so it's not such a big deal. And it's more than enough space for those sort of things. Okay, so over the other side, obviously exactly the same as the opposite of it. It has it actually comes with two gas cylinders. I took one out just to provide a little bit of extra space in here for a few other things. I've got my chocks in here, I've got some cabling, gloves, I've got all my pegs in here as well, and then I just left in the one 3 kg gas bottle in here, and that's more than enough for a long trip where you go on sort of 26-day odd trips, and it's more than enough for that. I always take a small bottle with me anyway, just in case. It's always good to have a spare, but I didn't see much point in carrying around 2 bottles. It's just extra weight on the nose, and that's extra weight on the ball of the car. It does, however, come with the 2, and it's hooked up individually. One feeds the stove and the other feeds the gas boiler. All I did was get a T-piece from my local gas store, joined it up, and now the one bottle does both, and it's more than enough. Okay, so moving around to the side of the trailer, I like to call the entertaining side. Our first door's got our fridge and stove and various pantry items in it. All the doors, I want to just tell you, are all aluminium. So one of the biggest sort of weight savers on these trailers and what makes them as light as they are is the amount of aluminium they used where they can use it. So they obviously haven't used it on structural things, but they've used it on doors, they used it on the cupboards inside. So they've got quite clever around that. All of these drawers, they're all aluminium. So it really makes a difference. And you may think that they small things and how much really can it add, but you know, when you're talking about trying to keep a trailer under that 1 ton mark, these things all add up because we always chuck lots of things in it which make them way heavier. So it's got a nice solid catch that releases here, and this pulls out on some nice good quality sliders. It maintains and supports itself, so there's no poles or anything else to put in, which is quite nice. Looking at the stove side of things, I have gone with this windshield. It is an optional extra, and I'll say it shouldn't be an optional extra. They should just put it in as standard because it's a must-have. You can imagine that out here in the open, the amount of wind that blows through here just completely defeats the object of having a stove, and all the heat gets blown out. So I went for this, and it's certainly been a good option to add, and I would recommend it. And as you can see, it opens both sides, so it protects it here and at the back, and also still provides a nice work surface on as well. Okay, so standard on the fridge slider, we've got 2 drawers. Top one being slightly smaller. We've opted to put in some foam inserts that we had custom made. Coffee mugs, that sort of thing, bowls for the kids, bowls for us. And then we just had this made up by our local supplier that does these sort of custom inserts, and it's all laser cut to the size plates that we wanted. Bush Lapa, however, does come with a full set of cutlery, so you don't have to do that. We just preferred going with some of the mugs and cutlery that we wanted for the trailer itself. Bottom drawer is great, really nice and big. And in here we put all our pots, pans. We've got plenty in here. It really is big. We've got some big pots here, three different sizes of pots. Our kettle, gas kettles in here as well. So really good. We've put some canvas bags in here just to stop the rattling, but some other ideas, you could line this with foam. That would help as well. You know, a lot of the roads we go on, things are rattling around and bouncing around a lot, and it's always good, and it just helps to protect the pots, pans, and obviously the drawer itself. Okay, so just on the other side of the back of the fridge and the other side of the pantry, you've got this like sort of dead area. So they made some good use of it by providing this aluminium sort of bucket that you can really fit anything into that's thin enough, obviously, but it's super deep, so it's pretty cool. We've put our trays in here. So we've got our bright tray in here, which is quite a big, cumbersome thing to find a place for. We've got these collapsible bowls, which is great. So they go nice and flat, fit inside there, can all slot in. Things like tongs, really anything that can fit in here, and maybe things that you just really don't have a place for but need to take with. Okay, so the fridge that we've gone with is a Snowmaster. It's the 81 litre dual zone fridge. You can also fit a 90 litre National Luna in here, perfectly enough space for that. Great fridge. It's got two different compartments. We generally use this both as a fridge, possibly the left hand one a little bit warmer than the right, just because we put vegetables in there. But if you're going on a short trip like we are now, then I use this as a freezer, or I set it quite low and put my ice at the bottom. So a great fridge, fits in here, doesn't draw too much, and yeah, just really versatile, and it's really been working well for us. In this big compartment here, we've got our kitchen. So there's quite a few levels here, which makes it quite nice. What we did was buy a few baskets just to keep things a little bit more organized, to make sure things don't fly all over the place. So we just got these baskets. They work pretty well. They're not fully hyped ones, and they don't have lids, which is perfect, so we can put all our condiments and various things in it. We also had some laser cut foam made up here, which was sort of custom to what we wanted, because we wanted to fit certain glasses and things like that, so we wanted it cut to the right size. It does, however, come standard with a big foam insert in here with all of your mugs and your cups and your other things as well. But this way we saved a bit of space here, so we could have more space for food. Try our best to try and pack as much food in here and not have to pack it anywhere else. It's just obviously a lot easier, keeps it in one place. And if we do then have extra on those extended trips, we'll put that in possibly an ammo box in the car, and try and just put the dry stuff in there. Each of these compartments has a light in it, and all of them are individually activated. So what I did was I put in a little light switch that turns them all on and off, and just put it on the side over here. And that's quite nice because it's a bit of a pain. It seems silly, but there's 4 lights and you have to go and remember to turn them all off and on. Here we just got one switch, so a little bit of a novelty, but if not, why not? Also, you'll notice, and you'll probably see, we've on some of our trips, if you watch some of our other videos, coffee is important to us. So we've got an espresso machine we take along with us, and it is a luxury, 100%, but yeah, we've got the battery power and we've got the capacity, so why not? So you can out in the bush, no electricity, you can have a good cup of coffee, which is really great. And there's obviously quite a bit behind this that lets this run, which we'll get into, but yeah, it's this little Nespresso works perfectly. It doesn't draw too much power for what we've got, and it fits perfectly in the little bar area they have here, right in between my bottles of brandy. Okay, and then the cutlery side of things, we've got this canvas bag that comes like this from Bush Lapa. We've just put in exactly what we want. So, nice bag, and it slots into this little rail at the top here. And hangs very nicely, and it's right, nice and easily accessible. Okay, so the tires I went for, they do come standard with steel rims and fairly decent tires, but I decided to rather put on my own set, make it a little bit more unique. So for the rim side of things, I went for 17-inch, they A-line, the version's daggers. There's A-Line do a lot of different sort of 4x4 rims, so you can sort of personalize your own bush Lapa Miskruier. And then the tires, well, that was a no-brainer. I had to go with the Coopers. These are 265 17s obviously, and 70 profiles. I tried to match this to my vehicle, and it's just good to do that and good practice to do that, so that in an event that you lose maybe 2 tires en route, you've got the trailer's spare that you can use on the vehicle, or vice versa, you've got the spare from the vehicle that you can use on the trailer. Okay, so for the wash basin setup, quite simple. They've got this little extruded piece here. I welded up a A-frame that drops into there like that. And then we've got our basin and our drying rack that just drop in. Very simple, very straightforward. What I have done, just to change mine a little bit, is I've gone and fitted a mixer tap. This is just quite nice for a little bit of convenience, getting the temperature right on the water. Looks quite a bit nicer and seems to work a little bit better than what comes standard. But standard, it is functional, it's practical. We've got a hot and a cold tap, and that draws from our 105 litre tank, which is mounted underneath the trailer, right at the back, which obviously helps a little bit with the bore weight on the car itself. I'm trying to keep it down. I generally don't travel with it full anyway though, although if you did find that there was quite a lot of weight on that bore, you could fill it up and it will obviously counterbalance that quite nicely. So at the rear here above the basin and the tap, you would have noticed we've got some stabilizers. These are the standard ones that come with the bush Lapa, the ones they provide, and these just go into the back and stabilizes the back so the trailer doesn't tip up, but also keeps it stable for when you're in it. I generally actually don't use them, just for the reason that I don't mind if you get up and it moves, the trailer moves a little bit. It's not the end of the world, it doesn't bother me. But for someone who obviously wants it completely stable, then I would recommend putting these in. They're quite easy to get out, just a split pin, open this up, and they pull straight off. So easy to put on the side, and then you can jack them up to the point that it stabilizes. Just remember that these are not necessarily leveling stabilizers, they're exactly that, they're stabilizing. So they need to stabilize the trailer. Try not to jack it up. The weight of the trailer should be mostly on the jockey wheel, and if you want to level it, rather try buy some leveling jocks, or what I do often is just dig a little bit of a hole if I can, if the ground's soft enough, which then drops the trailer down left or right, because leveling it at the front and the nose can be done on the jockey wheel itself, so that's quite simple. Okay, so these are the stabilizers that I put on the front. They're made by Alco, and they're just super convenient in the way they are. They mount right underneath onto the chassis. They've got a quick release pin. I'll show you here. Pulls out and drops straight down. Then you've just got a normal wrench that winds them down and obviously stabilizes the whole van. They are an optional extra. I would recommend getting them. I use these ones all the time to help stabilize the front, and if I could have these at the back, I'd probably use them a whole lot more too. So really good option, and not expensive, so I would say go for it if you're looking at one of these. Okay, so we're around the other side of the trailer now. This is the side where we fill up the water. It's also the side with the door and the place where the geyser is. So filling up's really easy. A 105 litre tank. All you do is open up this little filler cap here, fill it straight in. On the back here you've got a breather nozzle, so that just needs to be open. Just helps the tank breathe a little better, so when you're filling it up, you can release that air out of there. Just remember to close it before you drive away. Okay, moving along. First off, before we get to the door, we've got our electrical hookup. So again, standard out of the factory, it comes with electrical hookup, so you can plug straight into a plug, charge your batteries, gives you 220 power inside of the van, which is really handy. We've added solar controllers and various other things to our battery system. So what I did was, for that, because we need to hook solar panels, I just put an Anderson here with my lead coming out, which is pretty handy. So I can plug in here, take my 20 meter lead, put my solar panels in the sun, which means I can park in the shade, which is really great. Behind this door we've got our gas boiler, and this gives us our nice hot shower when we're out on the road. Most of the camps we stay at are unelectrified camps. Most of them have water, but some don't even have water, so that's obviously where the tank comes in handy. But I went and optioned the 6-litre Dew Hot geyser on here, and it's got a little temperature gauge over here that shows you what the temperature of the water is. So what I do is I just adjust it according to the temperature on the day. Sometimes it's really cold, so you need to make it a little bit hotter and turn the gas up. On the normal days, and most of the time in South Africa, it's quite warm, so the lowest setting is actually perfectly fine. Puts it at sort of 35 degrees, which is great. It's mounted on the door, so obviously the door needs to be open when you use it. Very important, because if it's closed, as you can understand, it's going to cause some damage here to the cabling and the seals and everything on the doorway. So just remember that when you're using it. We also went and added a custom drawer system in here. We had ammo boxes and various other things we used to put in here, but it was a bit disorganized, so I had Safarico make up this really great drawer system with some sliders. We carpeted the whole thing so it looked really good. And yeah, the top one I just used for all my various different toiletries, and then underneath that we've got our other things like shampoos and sunblock and all those sort of things, which is really great as well. So it really gave 3 different drawers to use, and provided a lot of space and for things that we just want to leave in the trailer before we go away and not have to worry about packing. Yeah, so part of our electric system and part of our wiring on our DC side of things is having a DC to DC charger. The DC to DC charger provides that smart regulated charging from the car to the batteries at the back. So you need one in the trailer. Our wiring in the car runs directly from the alternator all the way through to the back. We've got an Anderson, I showed you that earlier, with those big 16 millimeter squared cabling. That comes straight into the Vectron Orion DC to DC. We've gone for a 30 amp, that's the biggest one they currently do at the time of filming this. I mounted it here, over mounting it with the rest of the electrics, just because it does tend to get quite hot. So the cooler you can keep it, the more efficient it's going to be at the end of the day. And I just felt that over here at the front, it's only going to be active and running when I'm running the vehicle, so it's not going to cause any issues here, or interfere with gas or cause any sort of a problem. And it really works well. We've got a lithium system in here, and the Vectron caters for that perfectly, and it's future-proof. You can customize the voltage, customize the different levels and of charge, which really makes it something that you can keep for a hell of a long time, and it doesn't matter what battery you have, you can configure it to suit that battery. Okay, so for a shower, we decided not to go with Bush Lapa's optional shower cube that they can put on for you. The main reason for that is it's quite bulky, it's quite big. We wanted something a little bit smaller, something a little bit less cumbersome, I felt. So I already had a quick pitch shower that I'd used on my vehicle in the past, and decided to mount that onto the Bush Lapa. What we did get, however, is the brackets directly from Bush Lapa that they use with their shower cube. So these are these brackets on here. They fix onto the top and allow it to come out enough so that we can use the shower. And what we did was we put a fridge slide on the shower so we could slide it out and away from the Bush Lapa, because this bed folds down, and drop straight down and have a shower that we can get in and out of and get directly into the back of the Bush Lapa. So I'll show you how quick this is. We've got some extra poles that just support it, because as you can understand, this is pivoting at the end here. It doesn't have the same support you would normally on a vehicle, so you do need the poles to support it. Our fridge slide with a little release there, let's bring it out. It slides all the way out and locks into position. If you've seen the quick pitch shower, you'll know how easy this is. So you'll see that it obviously hangs down quite a bit because of that support here, so you do need to prop it up with a pole here. So I'll just get these out. And I'm sure if you spoke to Bush Lapa and wanted to go with this particular type of shower, they'll happily accommodate it and make it work for you. This is just an adjustable part in it, so we can just get the height right. We just get it like that, and as you can see, it's nicely supported here. One the other side. You're pretty much ready to go. We've got these little ties on it, so you can tie these to the pole so that it doesn't, the wind doesn't blow it onto you when you're inside. And then I generally just peg it down just to make sure it's nice and tight and doesn't blow away in the wind. Okay, so for our shower, we saw this on a Bush Lapa group, which is quite clever. It's a canvas shower base with the drain in it. So it folds away, as you can see, quite nice and small. It's 900 by 900, so it fits perfectly in the quick shower cube. Pulls out like that, and all you do is flip this down. It's got some solid sides, so it keeps it up. As you can imagine, you'll stand in here, it gives you a nice clean base to stand in. Water goes in, and we've got a drain over this side here, and you just put that out and away from the shower bit so that you don't flood your shower and the campsite. It works really well. In terms of the shower itself inside, we've got two different showers we use now. This little hand one's pretty handy if you're short on water. You need to do the old get wet, chamois yourself down and rinse off. Saves water. It's got a little on and off right here, so there's no turning it off with a tap. You can just press it down, and it's really handy. And then this little device is a gardenia garden shower. So pretty cool. It takes a normal gardenia fitting on here, which we hook up to the hot water outlet on the Bush Lapa. It's got two settings for how fast you want the water to come out. And it's got a very fine spray that comes out here, so it really saves water, which is quite nice. So if you are at a place that has water and you can afford those sort of longer showers or have access to water, then obviously this goes up and this is a lot nicer. But no water, we use the little hand one. This is super easy to put in. It's got like a little peg that goes down, so you just do that, press the button and adjust it for its height, and it just stands in the shower. We normally just put it in the back corner here. Push it in, and you've got your shower. Okay, so being a four-sleeper, the kids generally sleep on the bed that is inside to the right, which is this one that folds out. Now this is a super easy bed. It's got two catches on the side. Folds down like that, which creates your platform. It's got some chain holders here that just stop it obviously from going down. You don't need any supports underneath, which is again really handy when it comes to a quick setup. Everything is canvas on this trailer, as you can see. Inside we've got these poles. They just go into the connectors here. There's one either side. And all you do is pull the canvas over the edge. Like that. There's some elastic straps underneath that you just hook on, which obviously makes it a little bit more secure. And then we've got a fly sheet that goes over the top here, which is a rain fly that helps with the sun because it's got a reflective coating on it, but obviously keeps the actual tent nice and dry. Okay, so this black bed provided for Bush Lapa are your spring rods for all the beds, as well as your tool to adjust the steadies on the front, so I mentioned before. So on this bed there's three spring rods that you'll need. It's quite nice because they're all exactly the same size and shape, so there's no getting confused of which one's for the side bed or which one's for the front bed. I normally just start with the middle one, get into the hole underneath, and then I just pull that down so to make it nice and tight. Put it on, that easy. Put the other two on. It gives you a little bit of a overhang over the windows for some shade, and obviously any water that runs in here in the raining is going to run off and away. This is waterproof, so a bit of water gets there is not a big deal, but this just makes it a lot more waterproof and also provides that air gap between the top here and the inside of the canvas, which just helps with condensation. Okay, so the spare wheel on the back comes with a normal cover from Bush Lapa, but we decided to personalize it. We've got this made with our logo on it. Just protects the tire from the sun. As you know, most of the time you don't use your spare, it sits out in the sun. Obviously the rubber wears down and gets a bit hard and can perish, so really nice cover, and we just personalize this. Just a little bit of a nice touch. I'm going to show you how to pop the roof up and fold out the front bed. So the first thing you need to do is take off the catches at the back here. I often forget to do this just because they're at the back and I end up doing the front ones and having to come back here later. So these are just some split pins. Up with the latch, down. I always put the split pin back so I don't lose it. And there's one that side and one on the other side as well. You can open up the back door now as well. So they've got 3 different locks on it. The 2 on the outside are mainly just to pull it in nice and tight to make that dust seal so the dust goes in. And then the middle one is the normal catch that you'll use. So to undo these, turn them anti-clockwise. Pull your door, it is gas strut assisted, so it will go up on its own. And then inside the door, we've got 2 catches that drop down your stairs at the back. Okay, so what you'll see when you open up here, first of all, before we go around to the front, is the matches are piled to the right. Basically, for the front bed to close, they need to be stacked on the right hand side. So the bottom one is for the bed that folds out to the side, and the top one, which folds up into sort of a sandwich of 3, is for the big bed at the front. What I do is, because you get this bit of space here as well, we've got some big chairs that we like to take, so it's a handy spot to put them in. If you have a look here, it's also the first things you take out when you get to camp. That's solar panels, that sort of thing. So nice padded canvas bag so nothing gets damaged inside there, but slots in nicely there. And you know, if anybody will know, if you've got an SUV or something like that, space is always a bit of a premium, and these chairs are a little bit of a luxury. They're quite bulky and big, so it's a really good place to keep them. Okay, so we're around the front now of the Bush Lapa. We're going to open up the front bed, pop the roof, which will pretty much complete the setup. After that, we'll head over to do the awning. So as I mentioned, there's some clips at the front. These ones here, this one here does the roof and holds the roof in place. There's obviously another one on the other side. So these here, again, just put the clip back in. This here allows the bed to drop down forward. So these guys need to be open as well. Pull that in. Just put your clip back in. Just a lot easier when you're coming to close it up. They're right there. You can lock it. What I find it easiest to do is to get on top, stand on top here, to lift the lid slightly so that I can pull the front bed out. If you're not comfortable in climbing up here, then you can do it from the side. It's a little bit trickier. If you've got 2 people, then it's a lot easier. You can get someone to hold the roof up. But if you're on your own, I find this the easiest way. So we just lift the lid slightly, just so it clears the bed when it drops down. Just be careful when you're getting down, obviously. This is supported when it comes down for the bed, so there's no chains for this. This A-frame supports it. It's got a little latch here. You just undo that. You need to make sure that your jockey wheel is out of the way here, so it doesn't hit the frame. And then it drops directly onto this little catch they put at the front, and you need to put the pin back in so that you don't knock it out. Okay, so once you've got the front part of the bed down and secured in place, you need to pull out the rest of the canvas. Because of the angles you've got to work with here, it's important that any bedding or anything that you've shoved on the inside of the Miskruier gets taken away. So give you a little bit of space to remove this part of the canvas out, because there's some poles in here that are quite wide and they need to be kind of brought out at a bit of an angle, so I'll show you now. So I normally push that into the corner first, and then I bring this out right at the bottom, because you can see this goes narrower here. So if you bring it on the top, it's going to hit the bottom, you can pull it out. This bit of canvas, and then you can generally bring the poles out to this point, where you'll then be able to pull the rest of it out and go the other side and do the same. Okay, so coming over the other side, once you've loosened it properly that side, this side should just pop out. There we have it. So all the poles are out now. I just try and pull everything out here. Leaving this here, I then go inside and pop the roof up, which gives me that little bit more space of the canvas here, at which case I come back here and put in my poles and pull it all over. I'll show you that now. So we're going to hop inside and just push the roof up. Those two handles here, and because it's gas strut assisted, it should get to a point and go up on its own. Okay, so you push the roof up inside now. Now you can come around here and put the poles in place. They're very similar to the ones on the fold-out bed. As you can see here, there's one of these each side, and they need to just go into this clip over there. And all we do is, once those are in, go around like the other bed, pull the sides down. It's got some elastic clips as well, just to keep the canvas under. Over here, this one is just underneath, the same as the other side bed. Okay, so we can grab the rest of the spring rods. It's 5 spring rods for the front bed. 3 go on the front, and then you've got one either side. Again, I like just starting with the ones on the front, so we can pull the flower or the rain flower nice and evenly. So it goes under here into the same sort of connectors. Just pull that tight so it holds it. And we've got these all the way around. I also wanted to show you here the different layers for the windows. So there's 2 layers to it. We've got a mosquito net, which is really made out of nice, good quality gauze, which is unzippable in this particular case. Not all the windows are fully unzippable, but this particular gauze you can unzip fully. So by that I mean pull it right down, and then you've got your normal canvas window, which at night, with all of them shut, by the time the morning comes and the sun comes up, it really is quite dark in there, which is quite nice. So this also has a full zip, which you can obviously undo completely, while still doing that completely up and keeping the flies and mosquitoes and that sort of thing outside. Okay, so I'm stepping in through the back door here. This is also some nice, really big windows here. It's one thing I love about the Miskruier is the amount of space, head space you have in this particular newer version. And really, tall people like me, it helps a lot, so I can stand in it and still have a bit of clearance with my head. We've got these massive windows. Like the window at the front there, these as well, fully open. You can undo the gauze completely as well. And I'll tell you where that helps. You might think, well, what do you need that for? Doesn't make much sense, but they're really just standing here with this closed. There's not much wind flow at all through here. It's amazing how this thin gauze with all the holes in it doesn't allow much wind to pass through, but drop it down like this and you get beautiful wind flow right through the top of the tent, which on a hot day really helps. Obviously, if there's mosquitoes and flies, then we keep it closed. Okay, so moving on to the mattresses, as I mentioned, they pile up over here, and this is where they're stored when you travel. Once you've popped everything open, including the back, including the side bed, then we can get them into place. So there's a little trick to get this one in, because you understand it's quite a big bulky mattress. I like to pull it straight out and just first of all work out there's a thick side and a thinner side to it. The thicker side goes to the furthest part away from me, and this thinner side goes here because of the slightly different levels. So that way you end up with a completely flat bed. Okay, so once we've got it the right way around, we can push it out. I like pushing it as much that way as possible. I turn it and flip the biggest part into where it needs to go. And then I pull this part of the mattress towards me. You can see that went down quite easily. And you can hop on top and just pull this out like that. Ready. Yeah, so this is the side mattress for the side bed. This one just folds in half, so a little bit less bulkier than the one at the front. It's worth mentioning that this is pretty much a double bed, and the one up on the front of the Miskruier is pretty much a queen. So a little bit bigger. We put the kids down here obviously, and we sleep up on the front one. So for this mattress, we just fold it towards me, push it right in. Yeah, so when it comes to storage, when it comes to packing for clothes and that sort of thing, we've got some nice space inside here. On this side here, which is essentially inside the back and on the right, we've got 3 shelves there. They use these canvas doors, which are quite nice. Saves a lot of weight. They're simple. Nothing can really go wrong with them. Everything goes in there. Just don't forget to zip it up when you're traveling, otherwise everything falls out. On my right hand side here, which is when you get in the back door, it will be on your left, we've got 4 different cupboards. They're all the same, so I'll just open up one for you so you can have a look. I've got some clothes in this one. They zip up, and then you can just roll it up, and they've got some hooks at the top if you want to keep it open. Yeah, so not very neat, but nevertheless fits. Got 2 shelves, and yeah, we managed just fine on the extended trips with this much space. There's some good packing space under the bed as well that we utilize. Okay, so underneath the double bed, which is the one that folds on the side, we've got quite a nice compartment under here, which also houses your batteries, and put some electrics under here. But in addition to that, we've got our sides for our awning. We fit things in here like our sleeping bags for the kids. We've got a full medical kit here as well. Goes in. So there's quite a lot of space in here, and obviously you can put in whatever you like. Okay, so if we just chat about the electrics here, I opted when I got the Miskruier to kind of do my own electrics, put in some systems that I wanted in the van. So I told them not to leave out the batteries and a few other parts that would normally come as standard. So let's just talk about the standard part of it first, and then I'll tell you what I've added, so that you can possibly configure yours in the way that you want, knowing exactly how it comes from the factory. So this interface like this pretty much looks like this straight from the factory, with excluding this Vectron LCD screen. Normally there would be a plug here, which would only be supplied with power when you hook up to electrics at a campsite. It wouldn't have any power if you're off grid. The top section here, which is labeled 220, this is basically, again, if you're hooked up to mains, this would then work. There's a mains, earth leakage, so everything's nice and safe. 240, and then this one here, which I've labeled AC for the fridge, actually would normally say charger, and that would be linked up to a 15 amp charger. It is a Vectron Troner, so it's a good quality one, and that comes standard. So if you're hooked up to normal grid power and this was up, it will charge your batteries that you have in place. Coming over to the right of the panel, we've got our 12 volt breakers and setup. That's the main, so if I flick this down, everything goes off, including lights. Back up again, then we've got our different breakers for the fridge, the pump, the lights, and the auxiliary plugs, which are the ones outside. So normally that would all be up. Just below that, we've got our Vectron monitor. So standard from the factory again, comes with a Vectron monitor. It comes with something called a shunt, which measures the amount of amps going into the battery as well as the amount of amps coming out. So at any one time, you can have a look at this and you can understand exactly what draw you have and how long it'll last. So if I flick through the screens, I'm using 19 watts at the moment. Obviously, fridge isn't running at the moment, but the lights are on. It says that the batteries are at 97.9%. And at this current draw, right now, the batteries will last 62 hours. And that's climbing. So I've just turned it back on now. So yeah, I can really give you some proper information, the voltage. There's a whole lot of other things that it can tell you. I won't get into that now. It's quite technical, but yeah, really good monitor, standard out of the factory. So the electric system that comes with this is good. I just wanted to improve on it a little bit further, which I'll explain why in a minute. Below that, we've got the water. Simple gauge, it just tells you the level of the tank. It's got 3 different probes in it, and then when it gets to the very bottom probe, it senses that it's getting very low and the red light will come on when I press this. Only activated when you press the button, so it doesn't stay on and annoy you at night. And it also only works if the pump is on. So if I turn the pump off, that doesn't work. In the center, we've got some USB chargers, USB there, Hella above it. These all work off the auxiliary plugs breaker. So if this is down, these are not going to be powered. So lots of little safety features when it comes to electrics, which is really nice. The batteries that you would normally come with would just be normal straight AGM batteries. You could fit 205 amp hour batteries or one, it doesn't really matter. They'll wire that up for you. And charging from the car, it will just have a straight cable from the front of the Miskruier to the batteries, and that would charge from your car like that. I've gone a little bit step further, adding the DC to DC charger, which I showed you earlier. I've tried to stay with Vectron throughout all of the additional electrics I've done. And with that, I've added something called a Turbo GX, which allows me to monitor things a little bit further. I can remotely monitor stuff. It does connect to the Wi-Fi at home, feeds back all the information about the solar and what's going on. And with that, I've added the screen. So if I touch the screen, it gives me all the information that I need to know about my electric system from the grid input, which we've got none at the moment. I've taken out the 15 amp charger and put a Multi-Plus. Multi-Plus is a Vectron inverter and charger all in one. And that inverter and charger can charge at 70 amps, which is a hell of a lot, so it can charge the batteries up really quick. And it is also an inverter, a 1600 watt inverter, which allows me to run my espresso machine. Now you might be thinking that this is all pretty overkill, and it is a little bit for the bush, but the purpose behind it was also to do away with our backup power supply for our house. So with load shedding or with the power going down or grid going down, I can now use my Miskruier or bush Lapa Miskruier to power my house. So it goes down for 2 hours for load shedding or whatever it may be. All I do is I've had my DB board wired in the way that I can literally plug into my bush Lapa. I come here, I turn my inverter to on the screen here. This will flick over to on in a minute. The light illuminates. And I know, and it says inverting now, which means that the 220 plugs outside, as well as another one that I've added in the cupboard here, are now powered, and it's running off the battery. And that will last, it runs my lights the whole night at home if I need to. I've got plenty power in here we've added a 200 amp hour lithium battery. It's obviously to cope with the draw, as well as the lithium being a lot more efficient. The lithium battery, just on that note, if you compare it to AGM, a 100 amp hour lithium battery is equivalent to having, 100 amp hour lithium battery is equivalent to having only a 50 amp hour AGM battery. So you get double the capacity. So I've got a 200 amp hour lithium battery. It's the same as putting 4 AGM batteries in here, and it weighs half, if not less, than those. So it would not really be possible for me to put 4 in here. It really would shoot the weight too high, and just wouldn't really be practical. So yeah, great system, works really, really well. We've been on some big trips. I can be with no solar or anything like that. I can be off grid for like up to 4 days, and yeah, I don't need to charge. But I've got a solar controller in here. It's a 50 amp one, and the minute I get to camp, I'll put my panels out if I don't have electricity or any hookup, and it's just best practice to do that, so you're never on the back foot. You may end up with some cloudy days, and the sun's not going to be great, and then all of a sudden you find yourself with low batteries, no way really to charge them other than hooking up the car and running the car for a while, which is obviously an option, but not one that you want to have to do regularly. So yeah, great system. I'll obviously link everything in the description below so that you know what I've used and why I've used it. And yeah, if you're looking to do something like that, it's well worth doing. And if you can double up and power your house during those blackout times, then even better. So on the right over here, we've got our lithium battery as well. So as I explained earlier, we've gone for a 200 amp hour. So with the 200 amp hours, it's one complete battery on its own. So obviously it doesn't fit in any box, which is not a problem. Lithium batteries can be stored on their side, most of them. So you can mount it pretty much any way you want. I've mounted mine obviously upright. I've secured it nice and tightly with these straps, and made sure it can't shift back or forward because the roads we go on are quite rough, so things go all over the place. You'll notice on the top here they've got some very thick wiring. So this is 32mm cabling, and when you install these, you need to obviously check the manufacturer's recommendation on the size of the wiring you need. But for the draw that we have on this inverter, being 1600 watts, we needed to have thick wiring that can cope with that, and with the right spec fuse. So the right spec fuse for that is a 200 amp fuse. I've gone with a 150 amp fuse, so it's a bit lower than what it can actually do. Just to protect it, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be drawing more than 150 amps, and if I'm going to, I'd rather it blow the fuse than do any damage to anything else than the electrics. There's quite a lot of space at the back here, so I've mounted the shunts mounted down here, the solar controllers mounted down here as well. Yeah. Underneath on this side, we've got our Servo GX, the like brains of the screen that we have up here on the right, and then my Multi Plus is mounted over here, and it actually fits very nicely in the recess, so it's out the way. I can't even see it where I'm looking at it from here, and works very well. It's got enough breathing space. Obviously, if this thing's working hard, it can get a bit hot, so then you don't want to have this full. You want a bit of airflow, but generally, when we're out camping, it's not doing much work at all, so it's not really an issue. But at home, I'll generally empty this quite a bit so that it's got airflow, and if it needs to work hard, then it can. But yeah, works very well. We've got all our piping for our refill that goes through the floor and into the tank. And yeah, just generally quite a nice storage area for stuff that stays in here. And that's one of the nice things about having anything, a camp trailer, a Miskruier, or whatever you're going to get, is the fact that you can leave it pretty much loaded. You need to just add food, add the water, make sure it's charged, and off you go. You're on holiday. Yeah, so I'm going to show you the big bushwing, they call it. It's Bush Lapa's awning. Really good awning actually. It's got good runoff. Never really have to worry about it pooling. They've got some really clever little things they've done, which I'll show you. But yeah, let's have a look at the setup quick. They've got a nice big bag, so it's quite easy to pack away. So if we just flip that over, and clip this. The poles that sort of keep it a little tight between the struts are in this black bag. What we do is just walk this around. The back over here, there's a little hook that we need to just put the rope around and leave it loose like this in the beginning. Okay, next we're going to pull out the part of the pole that goes that way. This over. And then we're going to pick up the poles that go in between this that keep this apart. There's four poles in here. 2 long ones, 2 short ones. No, sorry, 3 poles go in between. The 2 longest ones go in this section over here. And they just twist and lock top poles. So push that out and just lock it into place. Same with the one at the front end here. And then because this obviously doesn't have much support here, it's very important that this pole or leg gets put down. So the same type of mechanism, also just get your height roughly right, lock it into place. So these go in between the rest of the arms or parts that come out here, and there's one between this one between there, and one to finish it off. Then we can pull the rope and pull everything nice and tight, get down a few more legs. This is self-supporting, so you don't have to put down the other legs, but if there's a bit of wind, it's good to tie it down. It's good to have the legs down. You don't want to cause any damage, and you might be out doing a game drive, the wind picks up, and then you're not there to tie everything down, make sure there's no damage. You don't want to get back to a collapsed awning at the end of the day. Okay, and we just tighten the rope, which pulls everything tight, and we're done. It's got some nice little legs that push the canvas up, so it creates a runoff on the canvas, so when it rains we don't get that pooling. The first couple of these ones here, so these just get pushed up here in the corner. We've got 3 of those. And then for the rest of the poles that are around, we've got these, I don't know, call them clips or legs that get put in. So the shorter ones go on the smaller sides. And as you can see, that creates a nice V, sorry, for the water to run off, so that it doesn't pool in these areas. Because typically in these tents, obviously where the material, the canvas is slack, you're going to naturally get pooling there, and that can obviously damage the tent and stretch the canvas as well. And it gets worse every single time you use it. The longer ones, very easy to put in. I pretty much put them in every time I use it. Also creates a little bit more headspace, feels a bit bigger under here. And that's it. All done, ready to go. took all of our collapsible pots and okay, I'll do that one again. Where's my beer?
One go.
We've got some of our collapsible air gap between the top here and the inside of the canvas, which just helps with condensation and also keeping the tent cool at night. Oh goodness, we're gonna have to do that again. I got it completely wrong. Big thanks goes out to Ed, behind the camera, working hard as a beer.
Thank you, kind sir. Nothing better.
Cheers.
Cheers.